Welcome, welcome. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Great. All right, let's try that again. I know you guys are still alive. It's been a long day, but how are you guys doing?
Great.
Good to hear. So for those of you that haven't been to this center, our evolution seminars, how many of you, it's your very first time? Very first time? Okay, cool. Appreciate you being here. Welcome. And how many of you, it's your very first time seeing me speak? Very first time? Okay, cool. All right, awesome. I thought I was a little more popular than that, but I guess not. How many of you are here because you're curious about NLP? Okay, good. Almost everybody. How about hypnosis? Anyone curious about hypnosis? How the mind works? How many people are here for the free coffee and water? There's always a couple of people. There's always a couple of you guys. We're going to have a really fun and amazing evening tonight. Why? Because the information that you're going to receive here tonight is not like any other meetup, I promise you, that you've gone to. How many of you have gone to other meetups before? Okay, all right. Those are the meetup. You guys might be addicted to meetups. Before we begin, what I'd like to do is I'd like to fill up these spots up here. So the people in the back, if you can kind of come up and jump into these, like fill these seats up, I would appreciate that. Especially Mr. Fabulous. Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yep, come on up. I don't bite that hard. All right, well, first of all, I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for coming out, because I know this is an investment of your time and an investment of your money. By the way, we have nothing to sell here. This is just our way of giving back to the community for those that are interested in NLP and really empowering yourselves with the tools that are out there. So just so you know, this seminar room is run by Evolution Seminars. I'm one of Evolution Seminars' trainers. The founder, which some of you have met. How many of you met Matt Browning? Okay, all right, almost everybody. So you know Matt was personally trained by Tony Robbins, and after being really successful as a young guy and losing it all and then gaining it all back, he wanted to start understanding the principles of success. He started to study results and why people got certain results and other people had other results. And is it okay if I share with you a little bit about myself so you know who's going to be yelling at you all night? Is that okay? Okay. My name is Mel Kotler, and I've been training with Matt, and I've met Matt about 3 years ago. And I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. At 19, I started up my first business, and I've had some success, and I've also had some failures. How many can relate to that? Up and down, right? So that's really how life is, right? Or is it? And I was always wondering, and I always had that question, could you have more of the ups and less of the downs, right? Could you have, when you have the downs, could they be less harsh, and when you have the ups, could they be higher? Is anyone curious on that, right? And we know that, that's how it goes. And I met Matt when I was just coming back to, I semi-retired when I was 27 years old. I'm 29 now. And right at that time when I came back to the States, I was living on a little island and just south of Honduras. And when I came back, I met Matt. My mom calls me up and she's like, Mel, you have to meet this guy. He's teaching this thing about hypnosis. And I'm like, hypnosis? Does that stuff even work? What is that? Like, is that where, at the fair, they make you quack like a chicken and dance around in a hula hoop or whatever? And she's like, no, you just have to come see it for yourself. And I'm like, come on. I was the person in the back with my arms crossed, my legs crossed, my eyes crossed, everything crossed. I'm like, really? Seriously? And the way that my mom got me to go there is she's like, you have to meet Matt because he looks just like you. So for those of you that were expecting Matt tonight, you can just pretend I'm him. Because people always call me Matt and they call him Mel and they always get confused, but I'm Mel. I'm not Matt. And so I'm like, all right, Mom, fine. I'll go and I'll check this out. I went to a 3-day workshop. It was one of the intro workshops that Matt was doing, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind to know that people actually have control of their thoughts. They have control of their emotions. They have control of their beliefs. And if you want, you can shift them. That blew my mind because no one ever told me that. My parents never told me that. And I started studying this, and what really got me was when Matt brought up a lady from the audience who had a bottle of Pepsi. She was sitting right about where you're sitting. She had a bottle of Pepsi. She was drinking this bottle of Pepsi for 30 years. 2 Pepsis a day. 2 Pepsis a day. She sat there, and Matt said, do you want to get rid of this Pepsi? And she's like, there's no way. I've been drinking this for 30 years. How am I going to get rid of it? He's like, well, do you want to? And she's like, yeah, I want to. I know it's not good for me, obviously, but there's no way. I'm addicted to it. I've been drinking it since I was a little girl. He brings her up. And this is in the size of a room, maybe 3 times this size. He brings her up, sits her down in a chair, and I see Matt literally do a 15-minute process, if that, 15 minutes. And Matt's like, okay, so, give her a round of applause. She goes back, sits down, and Matt says, so why don't you take a sip of that Pepsi? She looks at the Pepsi. She looks back at Matt, looks at the Pepsi, and says, no, I don't feel like it. And at this point, the whole audience is gasping. Like, oh, what? Are you kidding? And he's like, no, I'm serious. Pick up the Pepsi and take a sip. And she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. You see, at that moment, the barcodes in her brain, what Matt did in a little process that you're going to get to experience today, shifted. Shifted. Like, has everyone seen The Matrix? Where the green bars go? Those little algorithms in the brain shifted. Now, how many of you believe that you can change and shift in a heartbeat, in a moment? There's people out there that don't believe that. You know that, right? And that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. But see, the thing is what's really interesting is we're all changing all the time. Isn't that true? Everything's changing. From when we're a little kid to when we're, older, to when we're adults, to when we're seniors, we're always changing. So wouldn't it be crazy to think that why can't our thoughts and our personality and who we are, what we like, how we feel, couldn't that also change? And when I saw this, I went to the weekend and I stared at Matt and I'm like, I have to learn how he does that. And that started my journey. And after 3 years of studying with him, I've become one of his trainers, and I had the privilege to go all around the world with him, to Australia and New Zealand, and travel with him and do these workshops. And it's really my privilege. I love it when I get to share this information with an intimate group, because oftentimes it's much bigger than this. And I really have to acknowledge each and every one of you, because I'm sure you've had long days. You had work all day, and you've dedicated yourself to be here for one of 2 reasons, right? The 2 reasons is maybe you're sick and tired of getting results that you don't want anymore, and you want new results. Could that be true? Or you're already getting great results, you're doing really, really well, and you want to improve it in a much bigger capacity. Maybe you want to help others. Or maybe you're just here to help yourself, right? You can be selfish, that's okay. I promise you though that to get the most, do you want to know how to get the most out of this meetup? This meetup is your meetup. It's not for me. It's absolutely for you. So the best you can get out of it is what I'm going to say throughout the evening. If something vibes with you and you like it, and you're like, oh, that feels really good, write it down. Take a note. Remember that. There's going to be some really interesting things I'm going to share with you where you're going to be able to shift a belief that you might have had that you might not want anymore. Would that be beneficial to anybody? What if you could feel absolutely certain about a positive belief and get rid of maybe a negative belief that you have about business or your relationship or your health, and be able to do that in a moment. Would that be beneficial? Not years, not 5 years, not 7 years, not 15 years, but to be able to do it in a moment. Because the moment that you can understand how the brain works and how it is like a computer, and you can start programming it, what you're going to learn tonight is how to hack your brain. We all have a manual in our car, right? Some of us have never even taken that manual out. In the glove box. You remember, right? It's in the glove box. And what does that manual say about your car? Everything, right? How to do this, how to do that. If something happens, this is what happens. Now, oftentimes, it takes something to happen to pick up that manual, right? Isn't that true? The thing is most people never ever even open that manual up to see what's in it. What you're going to learn tonight is a small piece of that entire manual. That entire manual, just like that manual is to your car, NLP is to yourself, to your brain. Now, how many of you, it's your first time ever hearing about NLP? First time ever. So everyone knows that it stands for neuro-linguistic programming, right? Lots of different definitions. I consistently learn all the time. It's an ongoing science, it's an ongoing process. And what I've learned is that it's the communication we have with ourselves and with others. So what we're going to jump right into, because I know all of you are here, isn't it, if you could learn how to control yourself and program yourself better, could you get better results, right? Could you start eating better? Could you start getting healthier? Could you live longer? Could you get better results in your business, right? Could you sell more things? Could you be more persuasive? Not only, let's say, in groups of people, but one-on-one with people, with your kids, right? So whatever reason you're here tonight, I want you to hold on to that reason and apply whatever learnings you get from tonight for that. Is that fair? Okay? Because again, this meetup is for you. So let's dive right into it. We know that change always happens in what part of our mind? What part of our, how many parts of our minds do we have? Okay. Right. Now, the way that humans learn is by responding. Okay? So when I ask a question, feel free, if you know the answer, to shout it out. Because the more that you can get your physiology involved, the more your neurology will be involved, and the easier it will be for you to recall whatever it is and to gain the learnings at a much deeper unconscious level. Okay? So be as interactive as you want. So we have two minds. What are our two minds? What is it? Conscious and? Again, what is it? And? We also learn through repetition. So if I do that quite a bit, it's for you, so you can really digest and memorize and get to know this stuff. So we know that if we consciously say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Sure, consciously you might want to lose 10 pounds. But unconsciously, if you've been eating junk food every single day for the last 30, 40 years of your life, what's your unconscious going to say? It's going to be like, I don't think so, because look at what you've done in the past. And so being able to train the unconscious, being able to program it at a really deep level, that's what creates the permanent and consistent change in any person. Now, if you have the tools through NLP or tools like hypnosis, you're able to do that in a much shorter amount of time. Now, there are a lot of tools out there. NLP and hypnosis are just two of tools that you can use. Okay? So there's a lot of other tools. We've just found that NLP is one of the most effective and easiest and fastest tools you can use. So today's meetup is all about the barcodes in our mind, right? We have these, if this had a barcode on it, let's see, maybe we got one over here. We have these barcodes. right? Just like this. If I took a scanner and I scanned this, what would pop up on the reader? All this, right? It would say, okay, this is the Hypnosis Health Pack. It'd pop up the price. It'd pop up everything. But what if I took one of the what if I took one of these bars and I made it just a little bit fatter? What would happen? This DVD box set would turn into a toaster oven. Just like that. Poof. Right? Because the moment we change just one of the bars, it would not be the same thing anymore. Not be the same thing. So if we learned how we encode things, how we encode certain experiences in our life, and those experiences make us feel a certain way, then if we know how to shift that, we can take something that has been negatively impactful and change it into something that isn't. Now, how many of you know the 5 senses that we perceive our entire reality with? How do we even know what is? How do we know? There's only 5 ways that we know. Who knows one of them? Okay, we got smell, right? So we have olfactory, we have sight, visual, what is it? Yeah, we have hearing. Okay, yeah. So we have visual, right? What else? Audio. That's right. What's K stand for? Good. Olfactory and? So our entire world we know through these 5 modalities. In NLP we call them modalities. They're ingredients. Right? They're ingredients. Now does someone have a really good recipe in here? Anyone? Really good recipe? I know you got one. What do you got? Enchiladas. Okay. So next meetup, we're going to have some of enchiladas. So what was your name? Cindy. Cool. Good to meet you. So if I ask Cindy, please Cindy, could you give us your recipe? And you know, we had to twist Cindy's arm, and she said, okay, I will give you my secret enchilada recipe. And she told us, well, what do you need for your enchiladas? You need cheese, you need a certain sauce, you need corn tortillas. Yeah, corn tortillas. And she gave us all the ingredients. She gave us all the ingredients to make this thing real. Is that all we would need? Could we make it if she just, if she just said, these are the main things you need, could we make that? Probably not. What are we missing? The process, the quantity, what do we, what's the temperature, right? We're missing all those little things. Those things are called submodalities. That's the quantity. So we have the ingredients, right? We have the ingredients, but we also need the quantity and the quality of the things. And if we can get that, we can come up with a really good recipe, and we can very closely match exactly her phenomenal enchilada recipe. Right? So why is this important? Well, do you think everything that we do is some sort of recipe? Is some sort of strategy? Could that be? Right? Am I talking to myself? Right? It could possibly be. How we get happy, is that a recipe? How we get sad and depressed, is that a recipe? How we get motivated, is that a recipe? How about if someone is really wealthy and they know how to make money? Is that a strategy and recipe? What about someone who's really caring and loving, and they've been, you know, it's a couple and they've been married for 70 years and they're happy? Is that a recipe? Yeah, absolutely. You see, in NLP, we know that nothing just happens. Everything happens justly because of certain things. And if you can sit, and NLP is based on one of the most phenomenal principles you can apply to your life right now and instantly see better results, instantly, leaving these doors tomorrow, if you applied this one thing, you could immediately get instant results. And that's modeling. Modeling. What does modeling mean?
Doing
Copying?
what someone else does to get success.
Absolutely. Doing what someone else does to get success. So why are we working so hard? Why do we like to do it the hard way? Aside from maybe some of us enjoy torturing ourselves. Programmed that way, beliefs. We don't know any better. Yeah, maybe all of those are true. If you're in a place where you'd like to be financially free, who have you been taking advice from? Right? I was reading Cosmo. It's not my Cosmo, my girlfriend's Cosmo. And in this Cosmo, there was a quote by Mary Kate Olsen, one of the twins. And she said she only takes advice from people that she would switch places with. She only takes advice from people she would switch places with. So she's not taking relationship advice from someone who's been divorced 5 times. Probably doing the opposite of what they suggest. She's not taking advice from people who are broke and giving financial advice. She's not doing that. She's not taking advice from someone who's overweight and unhealthy. She finds the people who has the results, who has the right strategy, who has the right barcodes, and she's modeling those barcodes. Everyone follow me? So if you take one thing away from this evening, it's that. It's figure out some way, somehow, to model someone who already has the results you want. Who already has it. Right? If you get depressed really easy, well, figure out, go hang out with someone who's really happy. And figure out how they get happy. Because it's a certain thing that they do. As a matter of fact, there's 3 major components to it. Three major things how we do what we do. Does anyone know these 3 major things? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Is this interesting to you guys, by the way? Okay, all right. Just checking in. The first thing that all of us do, but we do it on an unconscious basis, all day long, we always do this, is we make pictures in our mind, right? So it's the pictures we make in our mind. What if I said to all of you, who loves oysters? Okay. Who loves oysters? One person? No one over here? Okay, a couple people? That's it? Okay? Who hates oysters? Right? So as soon as those words came out of my mouth, a picture was made. Right? Whether you're consciously aware of it or not, for you to hate oysters, you have to have a certain type of picture pop up. Maybe if you don't like them, it's slimy and it's like snot. And you're picturing that and you're like, oh my God, I'd never eat that. But for those of you that do like them, maybe you pictured them really close and it's like this color movie picture and it's just tasty and whatever, you know. So you picture things all the time. All the time. If you meet somebody, and if you have a negative anchor, if you have something negative associated, then you're going to make negative pictures. So we always want to be careful with these pictures, right? Now, what's really interesting is most events that we've had in our life that are memorable, right, that are very vivid. Let's try this really quick. Okay? Go ahead, close your eyes for a second. Don't worry, I'm not going to hypnotize anybody. And I want you to picture a really, really vivid event in your life. Could be positive, could be negative. It doesn't matter. Picture a really vivid event in your life. Go ahead, do that now. Good. Go ahead and open your eyes. Most likely, that event had some emotion around it. Because for that event to be popped up into your mind, it needs to be emotionally charged. Also, that event, if you really had a lot of emotion in that event, most likely it was very associated. What does that mean? Associated means that you are actually watching the event through your own eyes. How many saw it through your own eyes? Okay, almost everybody. When you're associated, when you're seeing it through your own eyes, there's a lot of emotion. What about disassociated? What's that mean? You got it. You're watching yourself, and there's no feeling when you're disassociated. So, does everyone want to save a lot of money by not going to therapy? I'm going to save you a lot of money right now. If you're having an emotional event, on occasion I'll see clients one-on-one. Most of the time I'm doing group workshops like this. If there's anyone that is having a lot of negative feeling, or they have this anger or anything like that, if you can instantly disassociate them from that scenario and they'll immediately lose it. It just won't be there. Right? And there's different advanced techniques like timeline dynamics that you can take people through and get rid of these negative emotions permanently. Because in that space, in that time, that can't exist. And that all of that has to do with the different barcodes, how we interpret things. So the pictures we make. Okay? Let's do another quick little exercise. Go ahead and close your eyes, and I want you to envision, go to a place where you had an argument. Just a minor argument. And I want you to see this argument through your own eyes. Nothing major, but you had an argument and there was some emotion behind it. I want you to notice how that feels. Notice how that feels. Okay? Now I want you to go ahead and just imagine this. We all have an imagination. Use it for a change. Go ahead and float up out of your body. And I want you to float into the other person's body that you were having this argument with. Float into that person and look through their eyes and really see their perspective. And notice that feels different. Notice how that feels. Now I want you to float up above, seeing yourself and that other person in the argument, almost from a third view perspective, like a little fly on the wall. Go to that viewpoint. Like a little fly on the wall, and just notice what's happening. Notice how you feel now. Notice the difference. Good. And when you're ready, come back down into your body and open your eyes. Open your eyes. Welcome back. What'd you notice?
There's no charge. Change in intensity.
Okay. Who else noticed that? That happens every time. Every single time. If you followed the instructions, if you used your imagination, that happens every time. Is that powerful? Just that little shift is monumental. And it's because the barcodes are being shifted just a little bit. Same event, but you're interpreting it. You're giving it different meaning just by doing that. That's a tool you can use whenever you want. Something happens at work, you get upset, you can use that. Right? In a relationship, you get into an argument, immediately. It takes a couple seconds. You can use that. In your business, when you're sitting with a client, right, and you want to sell them something, do you think it could help you to see their perspective and fulfill their needs instead of going into a sales presentation thinking about your needs? Would that help? Absolutely, every single time.